So XML HTTP request is one way to get some JSON data. There are some other ways, namely through jQuery. So let's take a look at some of jQuery's methods. It's just so that you're aware of that if you ever encounter it. So first thing we need is jQuery's library. Let's grab the link to the library here. Okay, and let's put it in our code. Okay, so now that we've included it, we can now use jQuery. So let's see, there's one of three popular methods. So one of the first one is how to get API response using jQuery's .ajax. So to use it, you'd have to use $.getAjax rather, and then inside you have to specify you're going to use the get request, not with a post or something else. And we're going to, you know what? Instead of using mine, let's use someone else's. Let's look up someone else's that we know. GitHub Tom. Yeah. All right, let's use his. So I just need this part here. Never sure how to spell his last name. So instead of this, we're going to put his stuff, and where's our URL? Here. So we just need everything up to that. Okay. All right. Let's see how that turns out. The next one is data type JSON, and then we have a done, and then we have a callback. And then if the callback is successful, we'll log it out. And in addition to logging it out, we'll just do the same thing as we did before. We'll assign it to a variable and display that data. So let's save that and see what happens. Go back to our page, and wonderful. So that's one method of jQuery's, is the .ajax. Before we move on to the next method, just analyze for a second what's happening here. So if you compare it to the add event listener, there's a couple of differences. Number one, here where we check for ready state equals 4, all we have here is .done. So I bet you under the hood, if you were to look at the JavaScript code for .done, it would have under the hood all of this. Especially this part here, because back in the XML HTTP request, we had to json.parse this before we can actually use it. But here we don't have to do that because it's already in a form that we can work with. So I think done is it hides that hard work for you and just gives you the data to work with, which is nice. Okay, so the second method that jQuery offers that you may have heard about is how to get API response using jQuery's .getJSON. And this actually is pretty simple. So they have an API, and let's work with someone else's API. Let's copy this one here again. This time we'll use riches. We'll use riches. And then we have a callback. So if it's successful, we have to do something. And we'll just do the same thing as we did before. Let's copy and paste that. Take away the comments, save it, and let's try it out. Refresh. There you go. His object doesn't seem to have a name. Let me just check that out. He left a lot of the details out. Name equals null. Oh, okay. Then the third option that jQuery has is how to get API response using jQuery's .get. And this one is very similar. Just move it down a bit there. And let's try another URL. Let's try Who should we try? Someone we know. Let me just look something up here. Ah, yes. All right. And then after that, it's a dot done. And then we have a callback. So if it's successful, we want to do something. What do we want to do? We want to do this. Okay. Great. All right. Let's refresh the page for that and see how that looks. Wonderful. So those three methods of .ajax, .getJSON, and .get, those are three jQuery methods that essentially do the same thing as XML HTTP request. Now, next what we're going to look at is some of the more modern ways to do the same thing in JavaScript.